And maybe one of the guys who can help us with the answer is joining us right now from somewhere around the world. Mike from around the world.
Pastor Paul, God bless you, brother.
How you doing, brother? It's so good to hear your voice. Wow, Mike. Whoa. Where are we, Mike?
Well, we're these are busy days. Busy days.
Oh.
Looks like we're in the valley of decision.
Oh, okay.
What do you say?
Yeah, I like that.
Out in that place.
Yeah, that's in the Bible. Jeremiah, I believe it's Jeremiah. Was it easy? One of them said, multitudes and multitudes are in the valley of decision. For the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. Mike. Yeah. So, Mike, the president has put this in a 2-week window. He doesn't. I don't think that means he's going to wait the whole full 2 weeks. He'll decide along the process. So, what is? Tell me what all the things that are rolling around in his mind and in his soul when he's in that office and he bows his head and he says, "God help me. What do I do?" What is it that he's faced with decisions that he's looking at? Potential decisions.
He's got a lot on his plate, a lot to think about. A bunch of opinions and advisements coming from different directions, which, by the way, is good. But he's got a lot to think about. Take note, his that 2-week remark is normally his response when he does not want to give some sort of an exclusive time to anybody. So he does that quite often when he's telling the media, don't worry about it. I'm going to get to it. Don't worry about it. So he probably already has something in the works concerning Israel, though. There's an issue. There are a few issues.
Okay.
Oh boy, there are a few issues.
Okay, help us on this.
It's not going to be an easy decision. It's not going to be favorable either way, and I'll tell you why. First of all, Israel, and hopefully nobody start bashing the decisions of Israel, but they have declared, or they have put forward, they're determined to totally obliterate Iran's nuclear program,
right.
The whole thing. Okay, that means a committal to dismantle every single nuclear facility.
Yep.
With or without the USA.
Yep.
Okay. That's a pretty big declaration. So they're going to be working towards that. Now, if the USA, if we, of course, we're the only ones that have the capability to carry the GBU-57.
What's that?
Penetrator.
That's the big one?
That's the penetrator bomb, the bunker buster. Mm-hmm. It's the daddy of the, or let's say the big brother of the GBU-28, which was another bunker buster, which they actually developed in 28 days.
Really?
Yeah, they took howitzers, some of the old surplus howitzers, and they turned those into the GBU-28s, which, by the way, is a pretty big one. But there's a problem with that bunker buster. I don't think that people understand the full stats of that bomb.
No, I don't.
And what has to happen in order to get to the actual facility at Fordo. Also, those reactors, that those nuclear sites, Israel has to be very careful because there are a few sites that are Russian made. Okay.
Bashir.
So
I think Bashir, Russia might have totally built that one.
Well, there are 5 sites that contain Russian reactors. Here's the issue, though, that there are 2 of those, specifically 2, that are vulnerable for meltdown. So if you hit them, it's going to ruin.
You mean they'll
more
melt
than
radiation?
Iran.
So if you hit them, they would just explode.
They'll start to melt down. They'll release all that uranium. They will totally obliterate. If you hit that, all the graphite's gone. If the graphite's gone, there's nothing to slow down all those particulates coming out of the uranium going all over the place. Nobody wants that.
No.
That would be another Chernobyl, right?
Oh no, we
That
don't
would
want
be
to. Nobody
and
wants.
Chernobyl already has problems, right? It's already leaking all over the place. Um, so you face that issue, right? And by the way, that issue is it's just not a good situation. This is a bad situation. So you have that issue. Um, so they got to be real careful in what they're doing because there is some damage already that is going to cost the world. Period. So this is a escalating issue. The people over there, uh, they're already oppressed, Pastor
Yeah, I
Paul.
know. They
And you
are.
have a lot of those people that were hoping that the world would rise up and kind of kick that regime out. A lot
Yeah.
of people are not familiar with how Iran actually operates. They may have a nice, you know, king or royalty. A president may be nice, but there is a controlling regime within that regime, and they're pretty vicious.
So, Mike,
But
what about and tell us about how that regime works? But all those guys that got killed around the Ayatollah, I mean, is that really hurt him a lot?
no, no,
Okay.
and that's something this it's also not well understood. Iran is very old. It's been around for a long time. Most of the conflicts that have ever come to Iran, the people changed on those that helped them. That happened with Russia. It happened with us. Um, when Iran goes to war, for some odd reason, the people in that area, whether they have been oppressed or not, begin to defend Iran. They
Okay.
change. Pastor, it is a phenomenon that is so difficult to describe because you would just see people who would absolutely be oppressed. They want to get out of that place, and all of a sudden, when they go to war,
They
they
rally.
change.
They
They're
rally.
in full defense. Even the prisoners are in full defense of Iran. Right.
Wow.
So you see what's starting here.
Yeah.
Right. It's
Yeah.
already begun. Um, so that regime, President Trump has a lot on his plate. Now back to this bunker buster
Okay.
and this Fordo facility. That facility is 80 meters in the earth. Right.
Okay.
The GBU 57 can penetrate 200 feet in the earth. That is 63 feet shy of
Yeah.
80 meters.
Little short.
Okay. So so you're looking at a bomb with a 6,000-pound warhead, 2.4 tons of explosives packed in that warhead. That, yes, it can penetrate the earth and it can penetrate 60 feet of ultra high performance concrete, which is what that facility is encased in. Okay, that's very difficult. There was a GPU 28 that hit a facility like that. It didn't do anything to it. It simply stuck in the wall of the concrete. It is the only concrete that is reinforced, of course, with carbon and glass fiber. So it does not, it deforms.
Okay.
Concrete does not deform, it cracks. This concrete deforms. So anything that penetrates this concrete is going to get stuck in it. And they have multiple layers of that concrete, right?
Okay.
So you cannot drop just one bomb. A B-2 bomber carries, it's retrofitted to carry two. We have 20 in the arsenal, right? That are specifically retrofitted to carry the GBU 57. It's going to take several aircraft to get to that facility, and they're going to have to be deadly accurate. It is a precision munition. So the first one will penetrate the earth. The second one will open up that penetrated area. The third, fourth to the, probably the seventh or eighth bomb will then penetrate the facility. But you have to eat through the walls. And that's if intelligence is correct concerning the depth. That intelligence came to Israel in 2009.
Oh, that's been a long time.
Okay, so in that facility, they began making that facility in 2002. In fact, in 2002, other papers went around suggesting, and the movements indicated that Iran had two working nuclear warheads.
Mm,
That
mm.
was in 2002,
Wow.
right?
Yep.
And the ICBMs, the actual vehicle to launch the warheads, Iran demonstrated that to the world. The world just forgets. The media is, I don't know, they're
They're
brainwashing
brainwashed.
just about everybody because people have short memories. They can't remember Iran demonstrating space launching capabilities.
So,
I totally forgot.
so you're saying that they've already tested the ability to launch, and back in 2002, maybe 2009 or whatever, but 2002, they may have already got two bombs already ready, and now we know they can launch it.
Yeah, they already had that. That's why, even back then, they were saying Iran is, 30 days away from breakout, this, that, and the other, because they knew that something took place back in the 90s, right? They knew Russia had left nuclear bomb or nuclear warheads in Iran, but they can't tell the public. The public would, if this was an accepted fact, if nobody disputed that fact, everybody in America would be nervous tonight,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes.
And we would go to war in a heartbeat, right? That's not the smartest move. So keep that in mind. But these bunker busters may not do the job.
Yeah, that's the
They
point.
simply may not do the job. Here's the second problem. If that's an RBK reactor and certain components used or manufactured by Russia, if they hit that facility, right, they're going to cause Iran to be poisonous to everything around it.
That's not good. That's not
Everything
good.
around it for
That's
about
not good.
1,000 to 2,000 miles.
That's not
Okay,
good
so
at all.
no, that's not good. And in fact, this time period is not the right time to engage Iran because of weather patterns, right? Um, Anything that happens in Iran will eventually traverse the northern hemisphere and come right to us.
It's going to affect the whole world.
It's going to come to us. It will eventually poison the northern hemisphere. So you're talking about a potential, especially with Iran, the potential of contamination is too high. Now we know that biblically, something happens so bad they have to burn weapons for 7 years.
Yes, they do.
The only time you would ever do that, right, is if they are contaminated with nuclear, biological, chemical agents. And in this case, because they even in the Bible have said they hired special people.
Yes, they did.
To put markers in the ground, right? Those are NBC markers, clearly NBC markers, which is an amazing thing that's in the Bible. Because the procedure is
exactly that.
Right on the money. Yes. And so we know that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Is this going to be one of those moments where this breaks out? Here's the other issue. You ready?
I'm ready.
Since 2016, Iran, their power grid has been suffering. They've been having rolling blackouts. What was it, May 2025? That was not too long ago, in 2024, back in May, and both times in both years. 2024 May, it wasn't too bad, but 2025, the city's power grid was depreciated by, I believe it was like 35,000. It was at least 15%, 15 to 21% degradation in their power delivery, which means they had rolling blackouts for everybody. Right, rolling blackouts. That's not a lot of power they could use, but the demand went up. Right, so a lot of people started to die in the month of May. Think about it.
Because of the heat
from no
and
power.
lack of no power, no water, no power.
Because of no power. So they already had a problem with the power grid.
Yep.
Now that certain facilities have been bombed,
it's a lot worse.
It's a tragedy. It's a very tragic.
I mean, let me ask you, Mike. They've been in the dark the last 3 days pretty well, and there's no internet really to speak of. and people are fleeing Tehran by 6 lanes of traffic for miles and miles of people getting out of there. Where are they going? Where were they going?
Well, believe it or not, they're leaving Tehran because it's where the nuclear facilities that were being hit are, right?
Right.
But they're not leaving the country.
No.
They're not leaving. It's the weirdest. They're getting out of the places that were being hit by Israel. Israel did tell the civilian populace that they were gonna hit these places.
Yeah.
Right, because Israel did not want to have a bunch of civilian casualties.
Right.
So yeah, they left. But now those same individuals, the majority of those same individuals, are saying death to Israel.
Yeah.
Are you see what I'm saying?
I know.
That's like
I know.
that's why I said a real demon has been released big time. Because here's the situation now, and this is what President Trump has to consider. Even tonight, the Islamic world is beginning to muster behind Iran.
Yeah, the Muslim Brotherhood even made an announcement.
China is speaking out for Iran.
Yeah.
Right.
Russia.
Now, a lot of people listen. I have to tell you guys something. Got to be careful what you see on the internet. There was a report that some aircraft were dropping off supplies to Russia because there was a user that's on Flight 24 that was trying to suggest that Chinese aircraft were flying into Iran to drop off supplies. It was, that could be a true thing, but in that instance, that was fake. That wasn't real.
Okay.
That guy he's pushing propaganda for a specific reason, that specific user. So be careful of the, I know it's frustrating, but be careful of the information out there. Anyway, though, China is because see, if the Strait of Hormuz or if they cut off the oil passageway, right, 80% of China is shut down.
Oh,
think about
so
that.
China can't let that happen.
80% of China
they can't
is shut down. They're not going to let that happen.
No, they can't. Nope.
They're not, because that would be their death.
Yep.
That would be an immediate. See, Trump has to consider all of this.
All of it.
So because China is not going to permit that to happen, you know and I know that they will intervene.
Absolutely.
And they're not going to do it covertly because China considers Iran to be one of their proxies.
Yep. Just like North Korea.
They're not, that's right. They're not going to go for that. So we are in a situation that I know a lot of people would desire. I would desire some sort of political resolution to this.
Yep.
That would be, peaceful. But Pastor, unfortunately, right now there are too many things at stake. You have millions of people right now who are, they just want to be free. Not to mention, Syria. This new leader in Syria, that guy that you went over, right?
Yep.
And all of his men. This guy is one of the worst people on the earth.
He's bad.
He's one of the worst people on the earth. Even right now, he's one of the worst people on the earth. Okay, because there's a situation right now that's being associated with Iran and Syria, and they are, this guy from Syria is talking to France, and he's all over the place. In fact, hear me on this, Pastor Paul. This guy is visiting all the places that nobody else in the Middle East could visit like that. He's doing things nobody else ever did. This
is why I was concerned.
He's actually enriching. He has enriched a lot of people already.
Okay.
And it's not this guy. Keep your eyes on that guy. Keep your eyes on that guy.
I will do that.
He's doing things nobody else ever did. But this guy's a tyrant. There are so many women out there who were slaves in Syria. And, this guy is the one responsible for most of that. Him and the people he promoted, right? Him and the people he put in positions of power. One of the main rapists is now the general of the armies. right? One of the guys who kept the women prisoners, who pulled their hair out every single day. When I say pull out, I mean pull it out where the scalp bleeds, right?
Yeah.
Who had them living in lice and bug infested blankets and everything. It's a sad situation, but those women are devastated. They've been liberated, taken out of their countries, but they're totally broken because now they really have no voice because of this guy.
Yeah, this
right?
guy's
They
this
can't.
guy's.
There's no.
And Mike, you know, I've been identifying him as because I know what he was. I know who he with the Al Qaeda and Al Nusra, and the fact he fought against the American soldiers in Iraq. We put him in prison for 5 years. This guy is a murderer, a butcher, and there's nothing good about the guy. And I wonder in the Bible when it talks about the Assyrian, could he be the Assyrian? I mean, maybe. I don't know. But he's not a good guy. He's not a good guy.
Yeah, I know. Well, in the Word, the Lord used a pretty harsh individual to correct his own country who totally turned their back on him for a while. But then he destroyed the Assyrian for thinking that he did that himself. But this guy, Passion, this guy he has bedazzled everybody he's ever talked to. How could a person who's had his background, right, who has his record, take that position, and then leaders of the world open their arms to this guy? Are you telling me that, he sounds like the guy in the book of Daniel? Chapter 11. He sounds like that individual who comes up from us. This guy, keep your eyeballs on him because he has a strong influence. The atmosphere around this guy is totally corrupted, but it's almost like people cannot tell it's corrupted. They're eager to meet this guy. And those who have been in power, they don't like him. The people like him, but the people in power don't. The people in within his province that were part of that government, they hate this guy.
They hate him.
But the people love the guy.
The other world leaders are completely infatuated with him. Right.
Yes.
They're embracing
Yes, they are.
It's unbelievable.
Yes, they are.
It's unbelievable.
I believe that President Trump is going to, that 2-week mark is for the media to consume. As for them, is whenever he does that, whenever he says 2 weeks, it's always been for the media to consume. He always did something prior to that time. Always.
You think the decision's already been made?
I think he's leaning towards a specific direction, but again, he has a lot to consider. This is a serious situation for the people who are in Iran, for the people in Israel, and for some of the people with us. Because don't think for a minute that Iran didn't have their fingers in the activities that were taking place in the USA today. I can't go any further with that, but don't think for a minute they're innocent of it. They're doing things in this country, even right now.
Yeah. So we have to look at, Trump has to consider all the things. He has to look at what does it mean? Does this unite the Arabic world? He has to ask himself, what does China do if this thing gets bigger? He has to ask himself, what does Russia do? And then, oh, by the way, what about these? When we say unite the Islamic world, we're not saying just to go fight over there. We're talking about how many sleeper cells do we got in here in this country?
Yeah. That's right.
So, I mean, Trump's got all that is weighing heavy on him.
He does. It's a sticky situation.
It really is.
You got to ask yourself, why? Because a lot of people are listening to propaganda again, and they said, well, Israel's going to take out Iran in a very short time. How in the world are they surviving? Right? They're still surviving. It's kind of like the Ukraine and Russia, where everybody said, well, yeah, Putin is finished. He's out of ammunition, this, that, and the other. Putin's dead. He's got cancer. He got blown up or something. No, you really have to watch that propaganda because they're spinning stories left and right now. The only anchor in this would be biblical prophecy.
That's what we're looking
in my
at.
opinion. So,
and earlier tonight, I did this, Mike. I asked the question. I said, this is a defining moment. Which is going to happen? These are things could happen. We could go into Ezekiel 38, okay, because the nations involved in that are actually involved in this situation. Or we could go into Jeremiah 49, which is when the four winds of heaven. God said he rains fire down on Iran and scatters them into the countries of the world. And he says he does that in the latter days. You can read that in Jeremiah 49. Or are we about ready to see a false peace where they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction? 1 Thessalonians 5:3. Or are we going to see the signing of a covenant of many? The Abraham Accord, we're able to, we're not going to have a World War III. We're going to sign an agreement, Daniel 9:27. Or could this be the wars and rumors of wars? Just that's all we're seeing right now is all part of what Jesus said in Matthew 24. Or is Apollyon about ready to be released from the bottomless pit, and he brings the hordes of hell in World War III in Revelation 9:11? We're at this moment where which way will we go? Which one will happen first? We know all of these happen. All of these happen. But which one is, are we at a defining moment, Mike?
Oh, we most certainly are right in the middle of a defining moment. I believe it's evolving. And, I really do. I believe it's evolving. Like, take, for example, Apollyon. We know that the angel gives a key. He's given a key, opens up the pit, and Apollyon pops out, but he's popping out at a time that the world has already endured some things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I agree.
This is the beginning of a conflict. We haven't had this type conflict in a while in a Western view. But if you take a step back and look at this from a people perspective, right? The Middle East has been in a type of struggle for quite some time now. The unification of those entities has never fully taken place. And speaking about the Islamic world, it's never fully taken place, not on this scale. But now that you have Pakistan being included, you have the Russian-Ukrainian issue, and Russia has already given a caution to the USA concerning Iran. We have a situation where Russia cannot afford to lose Iran. China can't afford to lose Iran. Pakistan is going to back Iran, and that's a nuclear nation. So we really have the development of something quite serious. It's just not going to go away overnight. I do not trust a peace issue. This peace issue could come from the Islamic world, period. Right? Because I think things are starting to separate themselves into the Islamic world versus everybody else. That's what it seems to be.
That's what it looks like.
But you have China has already had a peace agreement to a degree with all these Islamic nations. In fact, prior to this attack on Iran, China was attempting to push the USA out of the Middle East because they had staked their claim in too many places in the Middle East, making large investments and this, that, and the other. This war has totally messed that up. It put it on pause for a minute. But the relationship of the Islamic nations with China, they're solid. They're solid.
Yep.
And now Russia has no choice but to back. Because if they lose Iran, they're going to fold up too.
Yeah, you said if Russia's Iran and Iran's Russia.
That's right. They're one and the same. They're going to fold up. Just like you hear people talking about Israel is saying they have air superiority, right?
Right.
Okay, the USA that's already been disputed. Russia has a very high intensity. They have high coverage of that entire area. That was installed in 2021. Right? So they had an early warning system that covers blankets the entire area. Any aircraft that flies over Iran, they can see it intimately. They just have not acted. Right? So I hope that this bravado does not lead. I hope no one gets prideful. They understand that.
Right.
They can't turn into murderers doing what they do. And this pride is just going to ruin the whole thing, because if Russia acted, they could knock every single aircraft out of the sky almost instantly. So they have the interceptors ready. They just have not used them. They haven't used them. And because Israel is flying air Saudis. So here's what I see. Just my humble opinion.
Okay.
In this conflict, I do believe that the USA is going to run into problems, right? Whether we drop the bomb or not, we're going to run into problems.
I agree with you.
That's going to isolate Israel.
Yes, it will.
Benjamin Netanyahu has already made his decree that he will continue. He's going to totally take down all of that nuclear infrastructure.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Now, that declaration is going to be known by everybody. After maybe a week or so, the world is going to begin to look at Israel as pure aggressors.
Yep. They're going to condemn them
right?
like they did with Hamas
That's
within
right.
a week.
But this time, they're going to bring in everybody in their defense, and the USA is going to have no choice. We're going to have no choice. We could go to their defense, but due to our position, you see what's happening now in the USA. You have half of the Republicans, they say,
yep,
go in there, go to war, and you have the other half that says no.
Yeah.
Right. So you certainly have these people who like war. They're somehow meshed into the party. They're starting to speak up, and it's divided. That decision is divided. So we're gonna be neutralized as far as our decision to bail Israel out. Not by war. They don't need bailed out by war. They're going to have to be bailed out by way of some sort of council at the UN when these charges come forward, because they're coming forward.
Yeah, that's
what I see happening.
In other words, we have the veto power, one of the five, but what if we get boxed in?
That's right.
And all of a sudden the United States says, look, we can't. I mean, there's only so far we can go. I mean, there's the danger of that happening. We've been kind of boxed into this whole situation, haven't we?
No one wants the USA in war, right?
No, nobody wants it. No,
but because Benjamin Netanyahu has said he's going to take down all those nuclear facilities, he's committed to it. If he does that, right, he's going to exhaust. He's going to exhaust too much from Israel, and somebody's going to say, "Don't give them fuel to continue this," because they can't have these air Saudis without us giving them JP1 jet fuel.
Yeah, we're providing that. We're providing
that's
that.
right. They have orders of fuel. We fill those orders of fuel, then they fly. They can't fly without us, right? We have intimate interactions with operations, especially when it comes to any type air Saudis, and so we're going to be boxed in, because if you look right now, the Republican base, speaking of civilians, they don't want any part of war. Now, we all know that the base of this presidency, they have a voice. They actually have a voice. And if they don't want war, well, then President Trump is going to serve the needs of the base, right?
Yep. And
there we are. So we're not going to get involved. So, that can easily happen. And Israel is going to be left holding the bag. Yep. Then the entire Islamic kingdom is going to start, throwing charges at Israel. In fact, that's already starting.
Yeah.
And the suggestion for the first time, right, to disarm Israel has been proposed.
You've been saying that for 2 to 3 years.
It's going to get major support.
Yeah, you've been saying that they're going to try to disarm Israel, and how you do it is force the Americans to not arm them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're getting boxed in, and where Trump is now in a situation where he's like, I got to stand with Israel, right? But if I do, I get boxed in with the whole Islamic world, the Russians, the Chinese. There's only so far we can go. And plus my base don't want to fight this anyway. So he's kind of in this really bad this is why I'm saying that man's laying his head on the desk.
Yes.
Begging God to tell him, what should I do?
Yes. He's going to be fatigued. Even right now, Pastor Paul, he's standing with Israel, but he had no choice not to stand with this war.
I know. He had to do it.
Right? So that's why he backed out of joining in with the attack with Israel. He totally backed out.
Yeah.
Right. But he stands with Israel, but he cannot stand with this fighting. And he had to make that point clear to everybody. So we already know in part his stance on that. So here we are. We're right in the middle of it, not to include our celestial issues and what's about to happen on the earth. The Earth is doing.
Let's talk about that, because
some wicked things here lately.
The sun just erupted again just before the show come on. Another, but we had fireballs raging over top Texas a couple nights ago. But this binary system is certainly coming into play. It's shaking everything up. So let's talk a little bit about what the Earth is going to ready to go through, Mike.
The Earth is degrading. It's really starting to degrade. And, I had a hope. It was just a hope that possibly, for the sake of the people, certain events will be pushed out about 100 years, but it doesn't look that way. Some people know this, but at COT, there's a monitoring of sensors dealing with geological events, and so a lot of data is parsed when it comes into COT to do that. We have developing electrical problems in the atmosphere over California. That's a clear indication of an earthquake, right? And volcanic activity.
It's coming
right over the oceans. It's building up. I mean, it's almost like an explosive that goes off and it supercharges certain areas, and then it goes away. That actually originates inside the Earth, and that area is becoming quite volatile. But not only that area, it's also spread to the middle of the USA and other countries, of course. But this is a worldwide phenomena, which means we're about to have a brand new scale of earthquakes coming in. I mean, a whole different scale of earthquakes is about to take its toll.
Are you saying are we going to be getting a lot of 7s and 8s? I mean,
we're going to be on a brand new. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. Kind of like we have the 4s. We have a lot of 4s and 5s, right? Imagine if those were 6 and 7s.
That would be bad. That would be bad.
So that we're going to drop scale just like that. So it's going to be a bit more intense. Also, with something is happening with our atmosphere. Just to make it plain, our atmosphere is somewhat shifting as far as it's the thickness of the atmosphere around the planet, right? Is pretty consistent, but now it's beginning to shift, right? It's almost like there are pressure points around the atmosphere, which is causing some big differentials in cold and heat.
Is that atmospheric compression? And I mean, the equator is moving on. We want to ask you about the equator in a minute, but the atmospheric compression, and that's lower. It's making the jet stream closer to the ground,
and it's not uniform, and that's a problem.
Wow,
it is not uniform. So what that means is, we're going to have. Just imagine in the middle of say August or September or something like that, that you have in America, you have certain. Say the Midwest. The Midwest is, say it's 90 degrees in the Midwest. On the East Coast, it's 125. On the West Coast, it's 65. Then when the sun falls on the East Coast, it goes to 125. On the West Coast, it goes up to 125. And right dead center of the country, it freezes. The actual freezing. So these temperature differentials, right, are going to cause some big time issues on the crust of the Earth. Whenever you have a formation of differentials of temperature like that on the crust of the Earth, you weaken the bonds of the Earth. So you have a potential for cracks in the soil and everything else. That means you're going to have a higher potential of plate shifting. And with the sun doing what it's doing and these external influences, there's nothing that can actually, there's no equilibrium to that issue. So it's going to get a bit rough.
So
as far as geoactivity,
okay,
and as far as some of these weather conditions that we face, we're going to go to a brand new level of these weather conditions, and people are already having problems with rain, right?
Oh yeah, there's flooding. In fact, when it rains, it pours, basically.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. 4 inches of rain in half an hour. When West Virginia had their problem. 4 inches of rain in half an hour.
That's crazy.
In the mountains.
Crazy. That's crazy.
And that's just
San Antonio just had an unbelievable. It got a month worth of rain in 6 hours or something crazy.
Right. And isn't this their third time they had a month's worth of rain?
Yeah, they keep having this problem down there. Yeah.
Yep. So it's becoming a norm. So again, people are going to be frightened by the forecast. They're
Yeah.
going to be frightened by a simple forecast. And then when our atmosphere alters, I believe that all of us will know, right? All these things that are coming, at first they come subtly, and then all of a sudden we're going to have some
A
pretty
convergence.
massive changes. We're going to have pretty massive changes that we can actually see.
Well, let's talk about the equator, because I know you've brought this up in the past. It's moving. I mean,
It's still moving, and nobody can stop it. Yes, it is. It's still moving, Pastor Paul. It will eventually, it is calculated to end up in Chicago.
okay, if it goes to Chicago, then that means the Arctic will completely melt.
The Arctic is going to be the Arctic will be the new temperate forest regions. Chicago and all those places are going to be
like
arid
the equator
or desert regions. Yeah. And then all the water levels are going to change, right? So the continents are going to be a bit different.
Now, this ain't going to be a sudden swing, right? We're not going to just see this.
No, it's progressively happening, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So now they also said it's somewhat exponential in how it's moving, right? Due to geometry. In other words, when something goes around when anything goes around a planet, when it reaches a certain point close to the planet, it speeds up. Then as it goes out, it slows down. So that type of inertia will have a continuation of speed, but it'll speed up as it gets closer to its closer to that center point, right dead center below Chicago, and then it will slow down, as it gets there. It's detected. They've already published quite a bit about it. Nothing can stop it. They're not quite sure what they can do about it, if anything. So, there's another issue that we're going to have. As that happens, Pastor Paul, we're going to have volcanic eruptions.
Yep.
Because our planet will always seek to have some sort of equilibrium in its rotation. That will shift magma within the Earth. As that magma shifts, we're gonna, things will go off.
Yeah, volcanoes.
And then at some point, they're going to go off, and then that one scripture in the Bible where it says, there was a great earthquake, and every island and mountain were moved out of their place.
Yep.
Every island and Pastor Paul, that's the entire earth. No, nothing survives.
Nothing
is going to be
that.
normal after that.
Yeah.
Right. So that there goes everybody's house and everybody's, everything.
Everything.
And we're reaching that. We're getting close to that time. I believe we're in that time. I don't think that's going to take the earth out. I don't. I think it's going to make everything a little difficult for those who are still here on the earth during that time. I don't believe that's far away.
It's happening. It's in the process.
Too many observations. They spent another $900 billion on optics for space. Right?
Really?
Why? What are they doing that for? Because you know what? The simple truth is, of course they see something out there.
They see it coming.
They want all the details on that so they can save their own skins.
Well, they're digging all the underground cities. They've been doing this, of course, for a long time. I mean, but basically that happened, though. Now we're studying. We're finding out there's more civilizations that lived underground 4,000 and 5,000, 6,000 years ago. So we're redoing it again. We're going to do it again, right? As the earth is changing. Let me ask you this, because this Saturday I'm going to be teaching on demonology, and I think I have to teach on it. Everybody went around with the zombie apocalypse craze, but and you said, as things progress, people's minds, even the animals, are going to be highly charged, highly affected. Are the demons, in your opinion, the fallen angels and their minions, are they becoming more active in this volatile time? Is that partly why we see so many different issues?
Well, first of all, Pastor Paul, thank God you're covering that subject.
Thank you.
Because that's been an area that people just don't look into, and I know it's going to hurt them. I know it's going to hurt them in
not
the end if
easy.
they don't get a hold of it.
Yep.
But yeah, I would say yes. I would say yes. Mankind's morals are extremely low, but even better than that, the hostility of the average person has increased to an all-time high.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
People are vicious, and Christians, even the believers out there, we can, we have human bodies which are prone to human emotions, which are influenced by the same entities that other people are influenced by. But even in our bodies, we can feel that frustration. If we did not have a born again spirit, we would be just as hostile as everybody else. Right now, the earth is, people are experiencing, it's almost like a break with reality, right? They have a thirst for something, but they cannot identify what it is. They have an escapist attitude, which means they're ready to. A long time ago, people enjoyed the earth, right? They had dreams, and I could do this in the earth and do that. Or now that's been disrupted. Nobody has confidence in tomorrow.
Nobody does.
And in fact, when they begin to do something, they'll say, "Is this even worth it? Am I going to be around?" It's like a big question mark.
You're right.
And every day they wake up, they're on a hunt to find out what has gone wrong, right? This is every day.
Every day.
Because I think spiritually, there's been a rising taking place, a rising that you cannot see with the human eye, but you can certainly see it in the development of social behaviors, of how people interact with each other. You're talking about hostilities that are terrible. Just like this assassination attempt, there will be 3 more, right?
Are you talking about
3 more assassination
Are you talking
attempts.
about the one on Trump, or what assassination?
No, the one on the lawmakers.
Oh,
there'll be 3 more.
3 more
big time incidents.
Okay.
What's so funny is
in Minnesota.
What's funny is I had a talk a few months ago about that.
Okay.
Because I saw 4, right? Just 4 people being taken out. Well, this guy went to 4 lawmakers, didn't he?
He tried to kill 4.
Yeah, he did. He did.
He had a list. And he had a list of 70.
Yep. There are going to be more because he's not alone. The chatter in America is too high for people like that. There's sleeper cells that are awake. They're planning, right? They're doing things right now. I'll say it again. People witnessed something. They didn't know what it was. People are having a difficult time to identify what their enemy is doing, but their enemy struck a big blow, and it cannot be identified. See, because if the media does not confirm it, people are none the wiser. And they're totally dependent on the media.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And somehow, I just pray that breaks. But somehow, many things are obscured through media also. If they don't mention it, nobody believes it. Right? Because everybody gets their facts from the media, it seems.
Well, that's
demons,
part of the problem.
Yes,
yeah, demons. Yes.
They're active. Oh, something else is happening too, Pastor Paul.
Yeah.
Something else, including death. There have been a lot of people who live in, who have set up camp, so to speak, in areas. I'll speak specifically of the USA. They have gone out to these places. There are too many complaints coming back. Even officials are complaining of hostile animals in the wild.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, big time hostile animals. Now, it's one thing for a person to call in and say, "Yeah, I got a bear that won't leave me alone," or something like that. But when you have a family that's been killed, right?
Yep.
Lawmakers, children who they've been attacked. When you have mutated animals out there, like something in between a polar bear and a grizzly walking around, you have the huge bear, something like that walking around.
What?
Things like that are happening. They're just multiplying all over the place.
So,
right?
I mean, mutant animals or demonic,
Yeah.
I mean, skinwalker. I mean, there's all these things you hear about. Are you saying that there's strange stuff happening out there that's demonic?
Oh, you better believe it. Well, see, you're the government, right? Number one, the government cannot be forthcoming about all of what they know. There's no way in the world they're going to be forthcoming about everything, right?
Okay.
People want them to be. I know it's wishful thinking, but they're going to drip certain things out, but there are other things they will never talk about. And believe it or not, some of the stupidest things, some of the dumbest, craziest things, dealing with some of the crazier topics turn out to be the true things. Right?
Yeah.
Like all that money, all the money they spent at Skinwalker Ranch, the reason for the UAP program, would you believe all that began by looking for giant beavers?
Giant beavers?
Yes.
What? In Skinwalker
That's where it
Ranch?
started. That's where it started. They were looking for giant beavers.
Okay, I mean, I know that people have been looking for Sasquatch, and they've been looking for the Yeti.
But you didn't hear about the giant beavers.
No, I never heard about a giant beaver.
Right. That's the reason for some of these programs in the government, of which they devoted a lot of time and money. Why? Because it's not hogwash is a problem. It's a problem. They would rather people talk about aliens, right? They don't want people to talk about what they're dealing with right here on this planet. But I can tell you right now, most of what people have been facing has been coming from underneath their feet. That's where it comes from, right underneath your feet, and
crawling out from inside the earth. You're saying,
well, if you think about it, scientists, they find a brand new species. They find brand new animals and brand new insects and brand new this, that, and the other undiscovered species every single week. Think about that.
That's
species
crazy.
Nobody has ever seen before. Every single week. How many other creatures who may have an intelligence factor near ours? Who knows what they are? They could be the demons could fully inhabit these things.
Yes,
but certainly they would know how to dodge us, right?
Yeah,
we're so prideful. And of course, we know everything.
We don't.
That we like to say what does not exist. And,
So,
and government entities use that to their advantage, because the truth is if people knew what was around them, they would so quickly forget that God's been covering them all this. A lot of people would praise God for it. They would finally find out that, yes, God has been active from day one in their lives, or they would have been dead. And that there are formidable things out there. Armies of these things are out there. Armies.
You know, when you think about when Jesus cast the demons out of Legion, and I'll be talking a lot about that Saturday, those demons begged Jesus to let them stay in the coast, because they were like territorial demons, right? And so he let them go into the hogs so they can possess animals. The hogs, though, were so violent, they just ran down and jumped in the Sea of Galilee and drowned. But those demons didn't die. They just went into something else. They
like that. The nature of demons.
Yeah.
I tell women all the time, a woman will say, I don't understand why the evil person did that. Don't try to understand it, because you would have to have the mind of a demon to understand it. Don't do it. The same way we like to shake hands and embrace each other, they love to maim and kill each other.
I mean, it's just, but it's true. Okay. It's true that Satan
they have an inverted love.
Satan comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Yeah. You know, that's what he wants. That's what he does.
That's their fulfillment.
They feast
so when they're hugging somebody, they're acting kind of like if we were to act mean to get our point across, they would act nice to get their, to try to infiltrate. But their natural nature is destruction itself. It is hatred. It's murder. It's all those things. So hopefully nobody tries to understand them. But these things are all over the place.
What do they call these giant beavers? I mean, how big are we saying? The size of a man? What are we talking about? 7.5 foot. 7.5. There those beavers. Then you have the other giant. There's another giant mammal that they were looking for also. Right? It's similar to a dog, and they were found in North America a long time ago. They're they have shaggy hair, similar to a dog. They were looking for those too. Here's the problem, though. You ready? I'm ready.
On film.
Yeah.
They have the holes that open up, and these things crawl through holes right in the middle of the air.
Wait, in the middle of the air?
They have it on film.
Holes in the air? Wait.
When people see these orbs, right? You know how people are fascinated with these orbs? I am not fascinated with orbs. These orbs will come. They'll come, right? You see them all in the trees and flying, and people are fascinated. When they stop, they'll open up, and those things will crawl right out of them.
So okay, and let's say those orbs, inside the orbs are demonic entities that come crawling out. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, they open.
Are they coming from a portal?
That's on film. That's on film.
Are these portals? Well, you know, when guys, you may not know this, but okay, Mike, when I wrote this book, when I wrote this book, Zombie Apocalypse, I went through and I found about 35 different actual accounts of people who would strip down naked, superhuman strength, bite on people, eat people's faces, and they had Bibles laying around, or they would quote scripture. This was the same. Okay. So then I went and did 2 DVDs about this. I did the first one, and then I did DVD, the second one, Zombie Apocalypse 2, I call it. What I did was we went into a cemetery that is notoriously in Lafayette, Indiana, that has been known to have manifestations, including orbs. I said, let's go in the middle of the day. I'll take them out there. We'll talk about this place, but that's all we're going to do. But here's what I didn't know. When I would walk over to a certain tomb, and this is an old cemetery with tombs above ground, old. When I would walk over by a certain tomb, there'd be orbs that would fly around me, but I couldn't see them. The camera picked them up.
Yep.
We didn't know it until we went to edit when we went to put the film together. I was like, what is those orbs? And it was always around this one tomb. So I started figuring out then, and then we used different camera angles, and the orbs would still come. And you can see it if you get the DVD. You can actually watch it. You'll see it. I didn't feel nothing. I didn't see anything, but they were there. So you're saying that these orbs that are little portals, are they little portals?
Well, they may look like a little orb, right?
Okay, yeah.
But this is why I keep saying that time is for us. Time is not for the spiritual side of anything. Time is for human beings. It's for us. Time and space are intertwined.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
If so, those things that can traverse, these large, vast amounts of, distance.
Yes.
They also tamper with time. You're always going to find one or two. A lot of these scientists say, well, they can't go from, that solar system all the way to here. They don't have to. Time exists for us. It does not exist for them. They have a light experiment, right? They have a light experiment. They know for a fact, and CERN, I can't talk about that yet, but they know for a fact that we observe only a piece of light. The other piece you cannot see. When you shine a flashlight, do you not know that more light, you're shining in one direction, but there's more light coming back at your direction than going out in the opposite direction? You cannot observe the dark light, right? You can't observe that.
No.
Everything is in balance, but the speed of light, right? We can observe the speed of light. The speed of light is calculated through observations and just some primal tests, I'll say. CERN has found out the opposite. They're not going to tell everybody about this. They know that the speed of light is not a barrier. They know that light is not something that just shines either.
Okay, right? So it's CERN.
Light is something totally different. CERN has unlocked so much. And with CERN, what they've always hoped to do was to harness this other realm that nobody can touch. Right? It's all around you all the time.
Dark matter?
Right? It can touch you, but you cannot touch it.
Are you talking dark matter?
Well, it's
another.
Let's say that dark
dimension.
Dark matter is a concept.
Okay.
That filled in a gap that they didn't know much about. Since that time, they've already found out that dark matter is not the right word. Okay. So there's just like your desk. Your desk. Do you not know that there's more holes in that desk than matter?
Yes, it's porous.
Right?
It's porous.
But it's being held together by instruction. And listen to this, not one particulate is touching the other on its base, on the base matter of it. So an atom does not stick to another atom. An atom gets close to another atom and is held together by photons through a nuclear force. It does not touch. So nothing on your desk is touching. It's so solid because the force is so strong you cannot move it. If you could shrink yourself, you'd fall right through it.
Are we porous too? Are our molecules
Yes,
floating along?
yes. Nothing is touching. Everything is held together by light. Nothing is touching at the base matter of all things. Nothing is touching. Everything is held together by light or photons, right? That's the strongest force ever. They want to harness that force.
The force.
Forget the atom. They want the nuclear force.
They want the glue
that's holding them.
that
They want to
holds
control
everything
that.
together.
That's right. And they're extracting methods of harnessing that glue. Right? Remember that PowerPoint I made a long time ago? That's exactly what they want. And the what they have found out was that most of what we know is it only covers the surface of things. It's like a person who learns all the geometry of the outside of a house, but they know nothing about the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 100 degrees outside, and somebody says, well, it's cool in the house, and they say there's no such thing as the inside of a house, right? Because they've never seen it. In other words, if we can't observe it, we can't
don't know it exists
into formulas. That's right. And so
is it another dimension?
That's what people are facing. No, they found out it's not. It's in this realm of reality, but the rules, we didn't have all the rules, and CERN is exposing the rules.
Is this why Jesus could walk through a wall? Is this why?
Because it's a lot. That's right. A lot of people think the spiritual realm is separate, right? It's not separate.
It's not separate.
But the rule is this, that we're built to see a specific way. We're built to sense a specific way. So our bodies, we don't have the capability, right. of fully experiencing the spiritual realm that's everywhere. It can touch us. We can't touch
So
it.
how did, when Philip, in the Bible, when Philip was preaching a revival in Samaria and it was going great, and all of a sudden God he went, and he's in the desert 20 miles away over by Gaza. Yeah.
Yep.
How did he go there? I mean, it was...
that, if you can think of it this way, the Father, right? The Father, he is the command behind all that exists.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So long as he exists, so does everything else.
Everything else exists.
So think of his thought. His thought, it keeps everything together. By his declaration, his thought. If you ever thought something different, everything would be undone. Like Satan. Satan is no problem for the living God. He can simply say, well, just think Satan out of existence. You didn't need to fight him or anything else. So everything is governed by what the Father dictates. And if somebody is transported from one area to the other, right? It's not a big feat, actually. But why? Because CERN also found out that one particulate on one side of the Earth is connected to another particulate on the other side of the galaxy. And they move in tandem, right? Everything is connected. Nothing is disconnected. Everything is connected.
Which, we hear that consciousness, or
we can't see it, though.
But everything is... connected, yet everything is individual. I mean, everything's connected, yet everything is separate.
Our observation. We can't observe the connection.
I got you.
We can't observe that.
I agree.
Right? It's just like if you're in a store and somebody's in their car, but they're staring at you. Now you're in the store shopping, they're staring at you. All of a sudden you feel it and you look back. So what is that connection?
We're all connected.
What is that connection?
I don't know.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's willpower, actually. That's willpower.
Who's got the willpower? The guy in the car? Who's got the willpower?
If anybody exercise, if anybody looks, I have a small experiment, right? Look at anybody with great compassion and don't say a word.
Okay. Yep.
You look at, and don't let them see you looking at them.
Yep.
You look at a person with great compassion and thank God for that person, right?
Yep.
And really put your heart towards that person. And observe.
They'll feel it.
What happens
they'll feel
to
it.
them. Just observe what happens to them and your entire environment. See, the Lord told us that by faith we could do things.
Yes.
The problem is people are trying to harness the power of faith when they don't yet realize the fullness of faith. Faith is not believing that a person can do something. Faith is believing that something is done or that God can do it. Nobody has to believe, I don't believe I can do anything
No,
because I
I
can't
know
without,
that.
but I believe the Lord can do all things,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. 100%.
When I direct my faith towards something, I can also believe it's done.
It's because that's
right?
what faith is.
If I ask the Lord for something, I'll just go ahead and make space for it. Pastor Paul, I'm telling you,
Faith is a
it's just like that.
substance. Faith, the Bible says faith is a substance of things you're hoping for, and it's evidence of things you don't see. So in other words, it's evidence. In a court of law, faith is considered an evidence, okay? It's an evidence. And you can't see it. It's a substance of things you don't see, but it's evidence of things not seen. So in other words, it's a invisible or it's a tangible entity. Faith is an entity. Yeah. It is like it's an actual thing. You don't see it, but it's real, okay? It's knowing that God, knowing God is what gives you faith. Okay.
Yep.
It's hard to explain this.
It's like, Pastor, it's like this substance of things hoped for.
And
Scripture,
evidence of things not seen. Right.
Like Scripture. We hope for Scripture to be fulfilled in our lives.
Yes, we do.
The evidence of something not seen, wouldn't that be the confirmation? It's that unqualified belief we have in something, right?
Yep.
We know for a fact it can happen.
Yep, we do.
know for a fact God can do it. But people are trying to harness. They're saying, well, if I believe enough, it'll happen to me.
No.
I'll tell you what.
No.
Believe that God can do it.
That's right. Don't believe what you can do. Believe what he can do.
Right. And make preparations for it.
Amen.
Faith without works is dead. So if somebody prepared, right?
Yep.
For whatever they prayed for, if they prepared for it, and they live their life as though that preparation is there. Like if you pray for somebody to come back home, right? Get the room ready.
Yeah, get the room ready because they're coming. That's faith.
That's faith. Not a dead work. That's right. That's not a dead work.
That's faith.
And then, Pastor, it works just like that person that can look at you and you turn back and look at them. It's not coordinated.
I know.
It's just how things work.
Especially with my wife or people I know real good. I mean, it seems like you can have a connection without even being. You can be 1,000 miles away and yet you almost can hear their thoughts.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a connection, no doubt about it.
That's right.
Well, Mike, last Thursday, the war began. It's been a week. Now we're suspended. Israel's not going to stop, are they? They're going to keep fighting. There's probably rockets going now. They're just, but the world is holding its collective breath on what is Trump going to do. What do you think a week from today? Do we have to wait 2 weeks for Donald Trump or something?
No.
Will it break before?
No. I think Israel, right?
Yep.
Israel is planning to take out the rest of those nuclear facilities.
Yeah, they're confessing that. They're telling the world that. Yes.
If they can accomplish that, right? If they can accomplish to take those out, there'll be no bomb dropped.
No, Trump will not.
And there'll be lots of talks, right? But the ongoing issue is that this regime, when they say death to Israel, they actually mean it.
Yes, they mean it.
I mean, they mean it. And so President Trump he's going to have to deal with that too, whether there's a diplomatic avenue or not. Personally, I do believe this is the beginning of the unfolding of a few prophecies, and that it will begin to expand. Now, we don't know. I don't know how long that will take, but I do believe
it's the beginning. I do too.
Of the unfolding of those prophecies.
I do too. That's why I listed them tonight. I listed all the potentials, and I call this a defining moment. And I don't know which one's going to go first, but they're all going to cascade. They're tied together, and it's the unfolding. That's a good word to use.
Yeah, I believe people are they're still degrading as far as morals go with the regular world, and the saints. They still continue to pray that the Lord, come on up and get us. So as Christians continue to hold that desire, I don't believe the Lord is going to tarry in these issues. In fact, I think he's preparing us for what we're seeing, what we've been experiencing. I think it's more like preparation for the rest of it to come to pass. We may not endure we're not going to endure all of it. But we'll certainly see quite a few things. I believe it's the beginning of the unfolding of some things. So I think people should they should be ready.
Yep.
Be ready. Because I can't make a determination, absolutely, but I can be ready.
No, but we can be ready because we know that these things in the Bible will come to pass. Prophecy will not fail. It will not stop.
That's right.
Just be ready.
That's right.
Mike, I appreciate it tonight. I'm going to be thinking about those orbs. I'm going to be thinking about those creatures out there, the big beavers. You got all kinds of, 7.5 foot. I mean, I'm going to be looking into some things.
Isn't that weird? Then that's so weird. Yeah. Why would they spend that money on beavers? That's so weird. That's weird.
I'm going to look into that. I'm going to look into it. Mike, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Appreciate it very, very much. We all do.
Always an honor, Pastor Paul.
The honor's mine. Amen. God bless you.
All right. God bless.